So are you thinking about moving to Pueblo and looking for someone to give you the bottom line of what it's really like to live here? I'm going to give you the pros and cons of living in Pueblo, Colorado right now. Hi, I'm Alex Pacheco, your Pueblo real estate professor, and welcome to another episode of Pueblo PhD. Classes in session, so let's go. We're going to start by telling you why people love living in Pueblo, and we're going to start with a list of some of those pros. One of the pros of living in Pueblo is we've got that small town feel, but we have those big city amenities. We've got a lot of great things to do here. We have a great river walk, we have museums, we have some great dining options, some of the things you would see in bigger cities, but again, with that small town feel. But one of the things we don't have is all the noise and traffic and all those other things that come with the big city. So that's the reason why people love coming to Pueblo. So for example, our parks and trails are awesome here, but the great news is they're not as crowded as what you would see in Denver or even Colorado Springs. A lot more open space, a lot more room to breathe. And because we're a smaller city, you can get around town, you can get to any part of town really in less than 15 minutes. Quick and easy. So anything you might see in a bigger city, like for example, awesome zoo, museums, maybe a cool hip movie theater with reclining seats, we actually have it right here in Pueblo too. The main difference here though is we just don't feel as crowded as the feel is in a bigger city. Now we're going to get into the second reason why people love living here, and it's the lifestyle. Most people don't know that Pueblo, Colorado has over 300 sunny days a year, and if you're coming from outside of Colorado, you would think, well, maybe in the movies it's real wintry and snowy all the time. Of course it's not. We have a lot of sunny days, and we're in a really kind of dry, a little bit arid climate, which makes it great for getting outdoors. Here's an interesting fact. Pueblo, Colorado has a high desert climate, which gives us actually 4 distinct seasons, but it really gives us a mild winter and overall mild climate. So if you're not from Colorado, I know you're thinking like mountains, skiing, snowboarding, all that good stuff. But in Pueblo, we're actually a little bit further away from the mountains. So the nearest mountain range is probably the Wet Mountains, and you're probably a good 35 minute drive to get into that mountain range. So people in Pueblo love to ride bikes, and we have an awesome network of trails that take you and zigzag through the whole city. There's actually another trail that takes you through what's called the Nature Center. It'll take you all the way out to Pueblo West, which is like a little suburb of Pueblo. People generally just love the biking here. It's again, it's not crowded, and there's just a ton of trails to explore. Another thing you want to check out is our Lake Pueblo State Park. It's one of the biggest reservoirs in Colorado. We have people that come from all over Colorado, New Mexico to come to this reservoir. There's like wakeboarding, jet skiing, boating, paddle boarding. Again, there's a network of trails throughout that reservoir area that you can explore. Just an awesome place to spend a day. You can even rent boats there and do different things like that. So one of the things my family personally loves to do is we love to take out our Jeep and just hit the trails that are around us. Now you can catch a lot of 4x4 trails up in the Colorado Springs area, west to Canyon City. There's a really cool app that we use that shows us the different trails based off of different how difficult they are, and we just love it. Again, it's not a long drive. It's something that we can explore in a half a day or make it a day out of it, and we just love it. That's why we love being in Pueblo. So if off-roading or some extreme mountain climbing isn't your thing, we have like 3 awesome golf courses that are public. You know, they don't get real busy. Me and my buddies, we love to go out there and play. Just awesome courses, really well-maintained public courses. And my favorite golf place is Walking Stick Golf Course. It is just a beautiful course. It really shows off our high desert terrain. They really maintain not only do they maintain the course, but they really keep the natural areas left untouched. So you're like out there just in our natural area, and you'll see wildlife out there. Sometimes you'll even see snakes out there and stuff like that. But it's a beautiful course, and it's located right next to Colorado State University Pueblo, which is just a great university and asset to our community. So now you know there's a ton of things to do in Pueblo. It's a great place to live. But let's get into the third reason people love living here. So if you're not from Pueblo, you may not know that we are famous for something called the slopper. The slopper is a Pueblo tradition. It's basically, just to describe it, it's basically an open-faced hamburger, cheeseburger. They put some fresh green chili on that. It's amazing. Some cheese on there, some white onions usually are put on top. Sometimes they'll even put some oyster crackers in there so you can soak up that green chili. Oh man, it's the best. Pueblo has some amazing food from a lot of different cultures, and the reason is Pueblo is really a melting pot of people. In the 20th century, we had so many immigrants coming here from all different parts of Europe, people coming from Mexico, and the reason being is this used to be just a bustling steel mill, a bustling steel city. And it's really created a melting pot of people, of cultures, and right now we have some just great authentic food. We have some of the best food in Colorado. So if you're in town and you like pizza like I do, the best pizza in town is Ian's Pizza. I mean, it's been around since the 1950s. I mean, this is authentic, good pizza. It's real Italian pizza. They got great spaghetti. They've got just awesome food. It's, you know, it's a little bit of a hole in the wall. It's in a really historic neighborhood off of Bessemer, off of Northern. Just a really cool spot, and it's probably something that you wouldn't come across on Google, but it's well worth taking a trip to check it out. So while we're still talking about some Italian food, you know, if you're not from Pueblo, all the people from Pueblo, they know Pasky is one of the best places to go stop and eat. They have an awesome Pasky special sandwich. It's like really good Italian sausage that's local. You know, it's like on a hoagie bun. They put some provolone on there, some mustard. I mean, it's an amazing sandwich, and I know when people leave here and they move away, they come back to come check out that sandwich. It's kind of like a Pueblo tradition, and again, it's another restaurant that's been around since the 1950s. So if you're in town, again, maybe something that you might not come across on Google, but well worth it, really tasty. So another pro, honestly, is cost of living. Our housing prices are considerably lower than what you would see in Colorado Springs and certainly Denver. So it's another reason why people are flocking here and moving here. It's, you know, it really is considerably lower. And so if you're thinking about moving to Pueblo or something like that, you know, message me, get a hold of me. I'd be happy to go a little bit more into the specifics. But again, great value on our housing here in Pueblo. It's just a great place to live. But let's be honest, there's probably some cons too, so let's get into some of those cons. Well, the first con, honestly, Pueblo is experiencing growing pains. It's really trying to find its identity. Again, like I mentioned earlier, Pueblo was a bustling steel city, very blue-collar town for decades and decades. And you know, now that the steel mill has definitely it doesn't employ nearly as many people as it did in its prime. A con definitely is if you're going to commute back and forth from Pueblo, Colorado Springs. I mean, you're doing it in a car and you're hitting I-25, and that can get a little packed. We definitely lack in some transportation, public transportation, at least from Springs to Pueblo and vice versa. We can definitely use, you know, maybe like a rail, light rail, something like that to ease some of that congestion going back and forth. The second con, and you might be surprised to hear this, is again, we're kind of in that desert climate. So it's dry, dusty, and it can be windy here. So if you hate the wind, you hate, you know, if you're kind of a clean freak, you don't like that dust getting into the house, you might not like it here. So if you're moving to Colorado because you just love the snow, you can't wait to put on your snow boots and do some snow hikes, Pueblo honestly probably may not be the best spot for you. It's just, again, it's drier. We don't get as much snow. But again, remember, we are 30 minutes from the nearest mountain, so it's a quick drive, and those mountains are a little less populated and not as crowded. So the last con I want to talk about, it's a tough one to talk about because the rising housing costs. I mean, I think the secret's out, and a lot of people are moving to Pueblo, which is causing those costs to go up. Although we are less expensive housing-wise than, let's say, Colorado Springs or the Denver metro area, our housing prices are still climbing, you know, very rapidly. And the reason being is, unfortunately, buyers are getting priced out of the Denver metro area. What are they doing? They're moving to Colorado Springs. That is causing prices to rise there, and you have your Colorado Springs buyers, you know, coming into the Pueblo market because it's an easy commute to Colorado Springs. But unfortunately, that's, again, driving up those housing costs because we just have more buyers than we have sellers. And, you know, unfortunately, the secret's out on Pueblo, and that housing cost is going up. So to put some hard numbers on it for you, our median price point here in Pueblo has climbed all the way up to about $280,000. And, you know, honestly, that's up about $100,000 higher from what it was about 5 years ago. Well, I hope this video gave you some insight into the pros and cons of living here in Pueblo. We help people every day that move and relocate to Pueblo, Colorado, and we'd love to help you too. If you like this video and would like to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Again, I'm Alex Pacheco, your Pueblo real estate professor. Thanks again for watching another episode of Pueblo PhD, and look forward to doing some more videos for you guys.